Hello, it's 12 hours GMT. This is the Midday News. The news is live on Joy99.7 FM in Accra. We are live in Kumasi on Love 99.5 FM. On Facebook, we are streaming live and over 30 affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, including Laura FM, Laura, A1 Radio in Bolgatanga, Sky FM in Sunyane, and Victory FM Aplao. Go digital on Spotify and the Mind Joy online app. And coming up, Chief of Tamale and 4 others sustained gun wounds after they were shot by unidentified men in a renewed chieftaincy dispute.
There are 2 people in hospital. He, the Bekema, and a woman, a lady who was passing by.
We'll be live on the ground as the Northern Regional Security Council deploys a joint police and military team to the Dakpema Palace and its environs. Also, a country in economic distress with its policies no longer seen as credible. That's the verdict of former Finance Minister Professor Kwesi Boche.
All the signs point to a country in some distress, that we are no longer seen as credit worthy, that our policies are not seen as credible.
We have details as it urges government to take tough decisions that do not cause the poor in society to suffer more. Also in this bulletin, 65 years after independence, what does the future hold for Ghana?
We must change a lot of things. If we don't, our children will suffer. We must change a lot of things. Like, as a nation, we've used the future revenues of everything to borrow money.
We'll hear from Bishop Charles Ajinasari and some Ghanaian students still stranded in the Ukrainian city of Sumy as efforts are underway to help them move out of the city, which continues to witness Russian bombardment.
Still a lot of international students being stuck back there, international students stuck back at home and need help to come out. Not mainly monetary issues, but mainly transportation and.
We'll bring you an update coming up in sports.
Ghana hockey players complained of not being paid despite hosting the Africa Games 2022. We hear more from an official Ramatu in 20 minutes.
And later in the bulletin, some songs Ghanaians danced to when first President Dr. Kwame Nkrumah declared independence.
Ghana is the name. Ghana, we wish to proclaim
freedom. Freedom.
Ghana, land of freedom. Toils of the brave.
Details of these stories and more in this half-hour package. Please stay with us. Hello, I'm Ernest. Manu, thanks for choosing us. This is your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Now, the chief of Tamale, Fuseni Bawa, and 4 persons have been shot by unidentified gunmen this morning in a renewed chieftaincy dispute. The victims are currently receiving treatment at the Tamale Teaching Hospital. The incident is believed to have been triggered by the defiance of the Dakpema to beat the talking drums this week after the Yana ruled barring him from doing so. Regional Police Crime Officer Superintendent Baba Ananga says they have commenced investigations into the incident.
Good morning. Today, that is the 7th of March 2022, at about 0555 hours, the command's attention was drawn to a shooting incident at the Dakpema Palace this morning, and that a group of people on a Toyota pickup, white in color, raided the palace, fired indiscriminately, and then the chief was hurt. As we speak, 5 people sustained gunshot wounds. The chief was hurt himself, and they are currently at the hospital. That's a Tamale Teaching Hospital, undergoing treatment. Police visited them and then found the chief stable, but responding to treatment. And we have also made some deployment of policemen at the Chief Palace, as well as some protection for those that are injured. That's currently what we have for you.
Was the chief shot or just an injury from the commotion that happened?
I spoke to the chief and he indicated that he was shot at. I also saw injury to his stomach and the head. However, he's doing well.
That's the Regional Police Crime Officer, Superintendent Baba Ananga there. Now, the Northern Regional Minister, Shani Al-Hassan Shaibu, says the Regional Security Council has deployed officers to the Dakpema Palace and would continue to monitor the situation.
There was a ban on the Dakpema not to play the talking drums. You know, it is culturally on every Monday and Friday, the talking drums are played at the palace, some selected palace, to signify the beginning of the week and also signify the end of the week. That is on Monday and Friday. So, you know, the Dakpema of late has been having issues with the lieutenant over who is the chief of Tamale. This matter was referred to the Yana some 1 month ago, and the Yana pronounced that the lieutenant was the chief of Tamale. And so they restrained the Dakpema from performing such functions like playing the talking drums. That would always signify that the day has broken on a Monday or a Friday. But he remained defiant to the effect that he still wanted to carry on with that. So I cautioned him. I told him that, well, once the Yana has spoken and he's the overlord, what we need to do is to obey. If you need any redress, we can talk about that later when tensions are cooled. Because as it is now, I'm not sure he's in the mood to listen to any explanation. So why?
Let's go to the northern region now and speak to correspondent Martina Bugri for an update on this shooting incident. Martina, first of all, describe to us what you saw when you visited the Dakpema Palace this morning.
Now, when you visit the palace, you see that there are bullets, penetrations where the chief normally sits, and some portions of the where the women are. And houses close by, you will see some penetration of bullets into some of the homes. I must say that the area is calm now, even though we have some people still very upset, very angry, and visibly they have shown that they are not happy about what happened. The area is generally calm, and so you only find the tension around the Dakpema from where the incident happened. Apart from that, the town itself is very calm.
And you earlier spoke to the police about this incident. What more have they been telling you?
And when the police told us that they had 5 people who were injured, and then we went to the hospital to verify. At the hospital, we were told that 3 people were on admission. 1 had been discharged, but they could not identify the 5th person. They didn't know where the 5th person was. So we went back to the police, and then the crime officer said, well, the 5th person, who is the chief drama, is not at the hospital. He's also not at the palace. But they were going to lead them to a place, and then the mob was too much. They wouldn't allow them, and so they were not able to. So the 5th person is currently not in the hospital. He's at undisclosed location, we are told.
But what do we know about the others who are there? How are they responding to treatment?
We are told that they are responding to treatment. That when they came in, 1 was unconscious, but the person has been revived. She lost a lot of blood and so came in unconscious, but the doctors have been able to revive her and she's doing fine.
Martina, thank you very much for bringing us those details. Fortunately, we're joined by the Northern Regional Minister, Shani Al-Hassan Shaibu. Thank you very much, sir, for your time here on the Midday News. Obviously, this is a security concern. What measures are you putting in place at the Regional Security Council to forestall any reprisal?
Thank you very much for having me. Hello?
Yes, sir. We can hear you. Would want to know what you're doing to forestall a reprisal.
Thank you very much for having me. You realize that there's a lot of noise in the background. Since this thing happened at dawn, we haven't left any stone unturned, making sure that the place is calm and the peace returns to the place. So we have the place not been normalized now. We don't have any reprisal activities happening. And I just hope that the security are on top of their duty to make sure that Tamale stays calm.
The suspicion is that this may have happened as a result of the factionalism we are seeing there over the stool of Tamale. Are the talks underway to address this, even at the Yana level?
Yes, what I know is that when we sought clarification, because there were so many issues that was bordering on who actually has the supervisory role of the town Tamale, as in the person of who the Tamale chief is. But the Yana was categorical. He said that he didn't have a Tamale chief. It was the Guchena who has been assigned responsibility of Tamale by him. So I think this matter was settled with some instructions given to the Dachema who was contesting that title, the Tamale chief. Defiance of the Yana's instructions is what is bringing us all this untoward activities. And I think that it is the traditional council which has the mandate of making sure that these instructions of the Yana is obeyed to the letter.
And whilst we look at that, because you are in charge of the Regional Security Council, can you tell us about efforts being made to apprehend the perpetrators in this incident?
I'm not only part of it, but I am the chairman of the Security Council. And express instructions have been given to the police by the Security Council to make sure that anybody who is an accomplice of this thing is apprehended and tried by the law.
Thank you very much. That's the Northern Regional Minister, Shani Alhassan Shaibu, joining us there on that incident about the shooting of the Tamale chief. We'll be following up and bring you details here on the Midday News on Joy99.7 FM. Now to some economic stories. Now, the former Finance Minister, Professor Kwesi Botwe, has painted a gloomy image of Ghana's economy, describing it as one in distress, with its policies no longer seen as credible. He wants government to thoroughly review the economy with the aim of cutting down expenditure and avoid measures that will mortgage Ghana's future. He's been speaking at the One Ghana Movement lecture at the University of Ghana.
All the signs point to a country in some distress, in some economic distress. The exchange rate at the forex bureaus is nearing 8 cedis to the dollar. Fuel prices at the filling stations have crossed the 8 cedi per liter bar. Inflation is back in double digits, nearing about 15%. The government is struggling to raise money locally and is accumulating arrears to several programs: roads, school feeding, and even LEAP, even salaries, that we are no longer seen as credit worthy, that our policies are not seen as credible in the eyes of the investor community.
Let's go to the University of Ghana, specifically to the City House, where my colleague Kweku Asante is monitoring this event. Kweku, we understand that before the former finance minister started his lectures, he raised concerns about attacks he could suffer after the lectures.
So, Ernest, Manu, Prof has been saying that when he was announced to deliver this lecture, some family and friends called him and told him that this government is particularly vindictive. And so if you go out there and you say something that goes against them, they will come after you. But he said he was not deterred. Let's listen.
In their words, these people are vindictive and would come after you if you criticize them, they said. I was quite dismayed and wondered if this was truly reflective of the public sentiment in our time, or whether these friends had perhaps missed His Excellency the President's exhortation to us in his inaugural address in January 2017, to be citizens, not spectators. Which exhortation I was certain that he meant in earnest.
Well, Kweku, did he give suggestions on the way forward?
And so he's been speaking earnest about how the country can put itself back on the economic development radar. He says that the kind of borrowing that the government has been borrowing must be looked at. He's also been talking about e-levy. He just spoke about e-levy and why he thinks it's regressive and should not be countenanced. And so he's been giving a blueprint for what government can do to put the economy back on track?
First, it is idle to pretend that we can address our economic difficulties without some hardship in the short term. No one can. No one. There is simply no silver bullets. So, for example, it is egregiously inequitable to have grants for about 1.5 million beneficiaries of the Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty Leave program unpaid for months because we are in a crisis. That is not where the hardship should hit. It is the last place that the hardship should hit. The problem with our public finances is structural and will require a thorough review of all rigidities and sources of pressure.
That's the former Finance Minister, Professor Kwesi Botry. Let's stay on the economy because Pressure Group, Assembly of Citizens United for Internally Generated Revenue, is urging Ghanaians to accept the e-levy. The group says the revenue generated will help resurrect the economy that has been left in shambles as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Convener Clifford Banser spoke to Joy News as the group embarked on a sensitization walk here in Accra.
When you widen it, you are able to capture a lot of people, and then the infrastructure and the social amenities that we need will follow. It is simple that we are basically not collecting enough. There are those who are evading tax, those who simply don't pay because they are not captured. The informal nature of our economy shows that we need to introduce taxes or levies like the e-levy that is wide enough that can capture everybody.
Let's now do stories on energy because energy sector players are urging government to take immediate steps to privatize the Tema oil refinery TOR. Set up more than 5 decades ago, the refinery was to assist the nation meet its energy demands. It's however been hit in recent times with huge debt and now serving mainly as a storage facility. Petroleum prices have been rising in the last few months, leaving consumers and oil marketers worried. Listen to the Vice President of the LPG Marketers Association, Gabriel Kumi, and COPEX Executive Director, Duncan Amwa, talk about the impact of the hikes.
LPG is now bought in torts. I mean, why do you think somebody will carry such a metal, such a heavy metal, all the way from the LPG station and go and buy torts? Right. People can simply not afford the product. It's gone beyond the reach of the ordinary Ghanaian. LPG is now more or less a luxury product. Because the ordinary Ghanaian whose monthly income is about 600, 700, 800 dollars. How do you expect such a person to take about 15-20% of his monthly income to buy just LPG?
The country would need to be redirected and refocused. They will do the same. If they don't, and it's all about let's take taxes here, and people should pay money, and then you pay the money and your roads are still poor.
Let's now hear from energy analyst Dr. Yusuf Suleiman and Kojo Poku, who say it is time to privatize TOR.
One of the sources of, one of the conduits for, poor performance in the refinery is internal inefficiencies. And now we need funds in the refinery, undoubtedly. So yes, I will always 100% call for, privatizing the refinery. If not 100%, just give portion to the private hands to manage. Right. And what it will do is that it will inject some bit of efficiency. And then the required capital that we need to inject to bring the refinery back to vibrancy, that will be catered for. So yes, privatization is an option that the government can pick. And I think the higher time we do that, the better.
TOR should be solved. TOR doesn't address it. Your fuel problem, TOR doesn't address it. TOR doesn't. Look, if TOR is to function, we'll buy crude at the current international market price. TOR is going to get crude at any cheaper price.
And you had energy analyst Dr. Yusuf Suleiman and Kojo Poku. Meanwhile, President Akufo-Addo is charging Ghanaians to support the state in its quest to achieve economic independence. He was speaking at the 65th Independence Day anniversary parade. Here's a News Desk report.
The 65th National Independence Day celebration held in Cape Coast, which was on the theme Working Together, Bouncing Back Together, witnessed a display of rich Ghanaian culture, a march past by some selected schools in the Cape Coast municipality, and a contingent drawn from the country's security services. The president, addressing the nation, called on Ghanaians to trust his administration to turn around the worsening economic situation.
I will not renege on my pledge to help create a progressive and prosperous Ghana. I, however, cannot do this alone. I need the backing of each and every one of you if we are to bounce back together and build a Ghana beyond aid. Not everyone is ready to take the next step to the recognition that accelerated national development can best take place with a considerable increase in revenue mobilization.
President Akufo-Addo there, and in that news text reports the presiding bishop of Perez Chapel International, Bishop Charles Ajinasari, says the country's future revenue has been mortgaged over the time. Speaking in an interview on Joy FM's A Walk with Jesus on Sunday, he noted if the borrowing culture persists, the future generation will greatly be affected.
We must change a lot of things. If we don't, our children will suffer. We must change a lot of things. Like, as a nation, we've used the future revenues of everything to borrow money. The past how many years we've been doing it. So our children yet unborn are already owing for the next 30 years. If we don't change all those things, as a people, we don't have a strategic plan. Any government comes and toys with our emotions.
And that's the presiding bishop of Perez Chapel International, Bishop Charles Ajinasari. You're listening to the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. Still to come, songs that Ghanaians danced to when the first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, declared independence.
Ghana is the name. Ghana, we wish to proclaim.
Freedom! Freedom!
Ghana, land of freedom. Toils of the brave.
We'll bring you those sounds and bring you the latest in the world of sport here on the Midday News. Stay with us.
Hey, Evokoku, what brings you to my house this early morning? I hope all is well.
All is never well with me, Nikbakbo. After paying 3 times for the land for my project, the construction workers are now giving me wahala. From material overestimation to small stealing. I am tired.
I told you so, Evokoku.
It's all because you are trying to become builders when you're corporate workers and business people. Edlum has products tailored to meet your needs. Villas 3 at Amrahia, where there are finished homes. Conveniente, also at Amrahia, where it's contemporary but super affordable apartments. Prices start from $35,000. And the Avant-Garde, located in Adjurigano, which has sleek luxury apartments. For more information, please visit edlumhousing.com or simply call 0270-166-166. Edlum Housing, where spacious homes cost less.
Thanks for staying with us here on the Midday News. Time now for sports, and Muftau is here. Hello, Muftau.
The technical handlers of the national male and female hockey teams, Black Sticks, rejected a $28 per diem from the Ghana Hockey Association after leading Ghana's participation in the Hockey African Cup of Nations in January. The female team won silver in the competition, while the men's team failed to make it to the medal zone. Ramatu Abbas, who is the head coach of the female national team, says after 2 months, the team is yet to receive their monies.
We've not been paid. Both female and male team, and then the officials. None of us have collected any money from the management. So when it goes in the long run, it's going to affect the team's performance, because we have to motivate the players to boost their morale to be able to play the next matches in the tournament. They said budget was submitted to the ministry, and the money that was involved, they have not been able to give them all. So
that is Ramatu Abbas, who is the head coach of the female hockey team.
A sad recurring story.
It's a
65
recycle.
years on.
It's a recycle.
Muftau, thank you very much for bringing us the latest in sports. Now, some Ghanaian students are still stranded in the Ukrainian city of Sumy. A fourth-year Ghanaian medical student at the Sumy State University, Daniel Akulogo, who made it out of the city, says the main challenge for many of the affected persons is transportation.
One of the main reasons why we are stuck here isn't monetary issues. It's availability of transportation outside the city. And also, because of what's happening, a lot of civilians have been armed and some are using it for their gains and whatnot.
Meanwhile, the National Union of Ghana Students in Ukraine is denying claims that 70 students are currently stranded in Sumy. President of NUCS, Philip Bobby Ansa, says less than 10 students are stuck in the city as efforts are underway to help them move out.
Conversations and communications with our correspondents there, I can say confidently that we have less than 10 students now, Ghanaian students in Sumy. Yesterday, some left. To this morning, the others also left. So I can say on record that we have less than 10 students in Sumy now, which we are in constant communication with, trying to make arrangements for them, helping them. A lot of people on board who are also doing their best to make sure these students get to safety. So let's all remain calm. I'll use this opportunity also to thank you all, the whole Ghanaian community back home and those abroad in diaspora, for your continuous support and prayers for all of us here who are in Ukraine. We thank you all and we appreciate you all.
Now we are learning of some students. We're learning that some students have arrived in Ghana today. My colleague Maxwell Abdullah joins me in the studio with details. Maxwell, how many have touched down?
So as at 8:30 a.m. on Friday, March 4, 41 Ghanaian nationals had been evacuated. 55 of them arrived this morning. 12 are expected to arrive later this afternoon. So we know of a total of 108 Ghanaians have arrived here safely.
And what is the latest in Ukraine?
Well, according to CNN, the Indian government is continuing attempts to evacuate hundreds of Indian students stuck in the city of Sumy in northeastern Ukraine. On Sunday, the Indian embassy advised students to be ready to leave on short notice. South Korea will join the United States and others in suspending transactions with Russia's central bank as part of additional sanctions against Russia. Japan's foreign ministry raised the travel advisory for Russia on Monday, urging Japanese nationals to refrain from traveling to the country. And we're told that nearly 50 Russian diplomats, including their family members, left New York for Moscow on Sunday. Now we're told of a total of 1.5 million Ukrainian refugees.
Maxwell, thank you for bringing us up to speed on the situation in Ukraine. Let's go onto the phone lines now and speak to Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister Kwame Amprechum-Sapon. Thank you, sir, for your time here on the Midday News. So we know the last time you spoke to us that efforts are underway to bring some more students home. What is the update on the efforts you're making, especially in the Sumy area?
Right. Thank you very much, but let me make a correction. My name is not Kwame. My name is Kwaku. Yes, so the records, let's get it.
Noted, right. Sir. Thank you for the correction.
You asked specifically for Sumy.
Yes, sir.
In the general situation of the evacuation exercise.
Yes, sir.
I'm asking if you are asking for the general situation on the evacuation exercise or on specifically on Sumy.
On both, sir.
Okay. Let me start with the situation in Sumy. Sumy, as you all probably will be aware, Sumy is one of the areas where it's been very difficult to evacuate the students or the foreigners together with Kharkiv, which is the second largest city in Ukraine. Sumy also has a very prominent university which has a large number of foreigners. And unfortunately, because of where it's situated, which is very close to the Russian border, it's been very difficult for the students to leave. So they've all this while be in their bunkers and in their accommodation. The situation has gotten a bit difficult, and moving them has not been that easy. But fortunately, since yesterday, information that we've received from the NUCS Ukraine, which is the Ghana Students Union in Ukraine, with which we have been collaborating effectively, they have confirmed to us that some of the students, about 70% of the Ghanaian students, have managed to leave Sumy. Now, the total number that the NUCS Ukraine gave us for the Ghanaian students was 91. Now they are telling us that about 70% of them have managed to leave Sumy to safe places. And hopefully they will arrive in some of the neighboring countries so that they will join the evacuees for us to move them further back home to Ghana. With the remaining 30%, there are also plans that are in place for them also to move out. So we are hoping that most probably by today, tomorrow, maybe the rest of the 30 will manage to find their way out from Sumy. So that is the situation on Sumy. Now, when we come to the main whole evacuation exercise, so far we have to say that it's been quite successful. A number of the Ghanaian students or Ghanaian citizens in Ukraine have managed to get to the various borders and cross into the neighboring countries of Romania, Poland, and Hungary, and to some extent also to Slovakia and Moldova. And then some have also gotten to Czech Republic. So even though it's been very traumatic, it's very difficult for them. Little by little, gradually, they're making some headway. And when
very well. Thank you very much for your time here on the Midday News. We are grateful for your time. We have to leave it here because of time. That's the Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister Kweku Amprechum Sapon ending the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. My name is Ernest. You find more stories when you log on to myjoyonline.com. We leave you with some songs Ghanaians danced to 65 years ago when independence was declared.
There is a new African in the world. That new African is ready to fight his own battle and show that after all, the black man is capable of managing his own affairs.
This day will never be forgotten. The 6th of March 1957, when the Gold Coast successfully get their independence officially. Ghana is the name. Ghana, we wish to proclaim. We will be jolly, merry and gay. The 6th of March, Independence Day.
Ghana, land of freedom, toils of the brave, and the sweat of their labors, toils of the brave, which have brought results. Kwame, the star of Ghana, Nkrumah, star of Ghana, everybody toils of the brave, and the sweat of their labors, toils of the brave, which have brought...
Doing doesn't daydream. Doing likes to wake up early and stay up late.